Welcome back to Maple Leafs Man Advantage. And this is my next video. I am Hawkeye. And all of these videos we're talking about really why the Leafs haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967 and going through all the important things that have been done through the years with the Leafs and maybe taking a further look into them. And in this video, we're going to take a look at a few trades that happened in the spring before the 1968-69 season. Take a look at these trades and my opinion on them and everything like that. So the first one happened on May the 14th, 1968. This was just 3 days after the Montreal Canadiens held the Stanley Cup in victory. The Leafs made a deal reacquiring Terry Clancy, the son of legendary Hall of Famer King Clancy. Um, they got him from the Oakland Seals for an undisclosed amount of cash. Terry did play 7 games for the Seals the season previous. Terry would go on to play 86 games for the Leafs. He would score 6 goals with 6 assists for 12 points. Um, no big problem with me here. Put him in the lineup when need there. So that's Terry Clancy. Now, the next one is a big trade. It happened on May the 23rd, 1968, between the Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks. They worked out a deal where the Leafs acquired Hall of Fame defenseman Pierre Pilote, and the Hawks in return got Jim Pappin. Um, while perhaps a good idea in trying to infuse some more talent on the D line, I will take a deeper look into this trade at this time. Pierre Pilote has played 821 games over 13 previous seasons, all for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was also known as Pete. That was his nickname. He had scored 77 goals with 400 assists for 477 points to go along with 1,211 penalty minutes. He had won the 1961 Stanley Cup for the Hawks. He also won the Norris Trophy 3 times as the top defenseman in 3 consecutive seasons. So 1962 through 65. He was an 8-time All-Star, 60 through 65, 67, and 68. And he actually ended up with the most penalty minutes in 1960-61 when he had 169 of them. So he was definitely a rugged defenseman. Um, definitely, definitely a guy you would want in your lineup. He had quite the resume and certainly is a Hall of Famer. But in the end, he only played 1 season for the Leafs and then he retired. He did play 69 games this season with 3 goals and 18 points for 21 points. Pierre was actually 36 years old at the time of the trade. Um, what's sad is it seems Punch is trading for guys that are just too old now. That's what's happening here. Jim Pappin on the other side of the coin, he had played 223 games with 54 goals and 46 assists for an even 100 points. He had won 2 Stanley Cups with the Leafs, and therefore was an All-Star back in those seasons when it was the All-Stars against the Stanley Cup winning champions the previous season. He also led the league in game winners with 7 back in 1966-67. So he was a big part of the Leafs lineup there. Um, Now, perhaps Leafs GM coach Punch Ilmock thought Pappin was winding down a little, as he did score only 13 goals the previous season, but he had 21 the season before that. With Pappin moving from a defense first team like the Leafs to an offense first team, that's what I'm presuming here, because Chicago always had high offense. It seemed like they had high octane offense clicking all the time with guys like Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita leading the club there. From Pappin going to a team like that, Jim put up much better offensive numbers in Chicago, where his offensive game became very successful. In his first season with Chicago, he scored 30 goals, which outdid his best mark of 21 with the Leafs. For the Hawks, where Jim put up his best offensive numbers in Chicago. He played 488 games there over the course of 8 seasons. Over the courses of his career, he would play an additional 544 games, scoring 224 goals and 249 assists for 473 points. He would score 41 goals with 51 assists for 92 points for the Hawks in 1972-73. At the time of the trade, Jim was just 28 years of age. Boom, just hitting his prime, really, right? Um, Now, in turn, the Leafs did get a Hall of Fame defenseman, but seeming he would play just 1 year in Toronto, um, there's no way I would make this trade. Um, Now, in saying that though, with the lineup, there would likely need to be some changes made up front, I'm presuming. So we'll see what happens when I get into the season, getting to a video to the next season, and I'll look at my lineup and see who I may need to get rid of or what happens at that point. But yeah, I definitely want to make this trade, and I would hang on to Jimmy Pappin. So the final trade happened on June the 6th, 1968, between the Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings. The Leafs sent Doug Barrie back say that again. Toronto sent Doug Barrie back to Detroit, who came over with Normie Ullman in that trade, sending Frank Mahovlich the other way. In return, the Leafs received a bag of cash. So cash came back to Toronto. Um, Looking at the defensemen with the Leafs, a number of them are ready to start playing. And honestly, I think Doug would be down the list of D-men on the team. I'm fine with this trade. In saying with the original trade, I wouldn't have made that trade originally, so I wouldn't have him anyways on my squad, but I'm okay with this. Doug will go on to play 158 games in the NHL before he jumped over to the WHA. But to note, if it matters, he never did play a game with the Detroit Red Wings, though. So there you have it. There's a few trades happening before the 1968-69 season, and see what happens with that when we get to the next season. So yeah, if you like the video, don't be afraid to hit like or subscribe. I certainly have got some videos, and I'm getting back into that groove now. I'm going to be putting more Leaf videos on here about the Leafs through their history. And if you want to comment on anything, don't hesitate. You can do that. I love talking hockey. But anyways, have yourself an excellent day.